Hello, and welcome to the AWS DeepRacer TV News. I'm your host, Blaine Sundrud of AWS Training and Certification. The DeepRacer TV News is your official source for race results, highlights, and up-to-the-minute news regarding the AWS DeepRacer League. The March qualifier races of the virtual circuit just wrapped up, and it's clear that developers have been training hard in the off-season. We saw blazing fast times from newcomers posted to the leaderboard from the very first day the competition was unveiled. Tony J takes the top spot with a time of 45.0 seconds, while our reInvent silver medalist Fumiaki slides once again into the number 2 seat. Fumiaki's looking to change the narrative in April as he comes in just 0.8 seconds behind Tony in his 3-lap aggregate attempt. The battle for top 5 was fierce, with Keaton, Dart Jason, and Ray G all landing within half a second of each other on their best attempts. They'll also receive prizes for their efforts and look to improve next month to lock in a qualifying victory. Moving on to the inaugural object avoidance race. This brand new format follows the same track shape, but now adds in 6 stationary objects on the track for the model to avoid. These developers trained models that are able to use the stereo camera and LiDAR to assess depth and distance from 3D objects on the track, in addition to reading the track boundaries on the ground. Training a model to stay as far away from objects may seem like a can't-fail strategy, but the models will also have to weigh that against overall position on the track to determine the best path moving forward. The final results in object avoidance show Richard Fan nabs the decisive victory over the field with 57.4 seconds, with Leo DNP DS, Ray G, Hagibis, and Robin Castro rounding out our top 5. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for, the main event, the big show, the head-to-head race. For the first time ever, developers can race their machine learning models against other drivers on the track at the same time. Throughout the month of qualifying, racers were tested by navigating around a track that had 4 bot cars driving on it simultaneously. Just like object avoidance, their models were penalized for off-track and running into object, which in this case were moving bot cars. Now, here's how the March championships get decided. At the end of the qualifying race, the top 32 racers on the head-to-head leaderboard make it into the elimination bracket. Racers are seeded by finish order into the bracket, where their fastest models submitted that month will face off head-to-head against another developer's model. No bot cars, just developer versus developer. Single elimination, 1 shot only. The winner moves on, and it's game over for the second-place finisher. The brackets progress until there's only 1 racer left, and they will be our head-to-head victor for this month. Let's do this. Lots of familiar developers making it onto the top of the ranks as last year's contenders are hungry for a W in the first qualifiers of the year. Some crowd favorites, such as Darren Broderick from Liberty Mutual, aka D-Bro, a top 8 finisher at reInvent 2019. Macedonian DeepRacer vet Kire, putting up solid qualifying times to make it also into the bracket. We've got 2019 London Summit champ Matt Camp, along with his Jigsaw XYZ colleague Tony J. Now, speaking of camps, there are some other camps to watch out for. The Dai Nippon Printing Japan camp, or Team DMP, are back at it again early with at least 3 racers making it to the showdown bracket, including last year's second-place league champion Fumiaki. Not to be outdone, the developers I/O community have 4 racers that actually qualified models this year. While a lot of heavy hitters made the final showdown, we've also got some newcomers that are shaking things up. Qualifying with the 3rd fastest time of the month is Keaton. Lazuli comes in at lucky number 13, and Takedo in spot 14 also appears to be running well on the Sola Speedway. So, right out of the gate, in a surprising upset, Fumiaki gets defeated in round 1 by our 24th seed Hagibis. Fumiaki struggled with 10 off tracks, 3 collisions, which drove up the clock. Now, we're sure to see Fumiaki back in April attempting to be more successful. There's two other shakeups in round one, as 2019 finalists Ray G in the 6th seed and Robin Castro in 10 both failed to make it out of round one, as Galileo and league regular Hiroshi JP advanced past them. It appears both Robin and Ray's models struggled with off-tracks that put them in second position early on, and just couldn't make up the time to get a successful pass in. The rest of round one played according to the seeds, with top rankers beating out their round one cohort. In round two, newcomer Lazuli manages to overtake 4th seed Polish Thunder in a well-run race by both. Lazuli takes a commanding lead early on, but an off-track in the hairpin allows Polish Thunder to squeeze by. Lazuli is trailing until lap number 4, where the same hairpin gets the best of Polish Thunder on the inside line, and Lazuli makes their move. It's lights out from there, and Lazuli gets the W. Over on the right-hand side of the bracket, Takedo takes down the 3rd seed Keaton. Keaton struggles with 12 off-tracks in the matchup, and is going to need to retune their model to optimize for more unpredictable competitors than the bot cars of qualifiers if he wants to top the leaderboard in April. Team DMP flexes their might to close out round two as both Nero and Leo advance, where they'll ultimately have to face each other in the semifinals. After the quarterfinals, we are now looking at the final 4 in the semifinals. Will the 11 seed Leo surrender to 7th seed Nero to put forth their fastest qualifier against JJ, who has been dominating the entire league for the month of March? Or will it be every model for themselves out there on their teammate Solaz's namesake track? Well, it's clear from the moment the starting gun fires, these two teammates aren't going to take it easy on each other. A collision just seconds in favors Leo, and he takes the lead. That open road widens to a half-lap lead on lap 2 of 5 as Nero now has to play catch-up. With wide open track for both racers, Leo hangs on to the lead as Nero just can't make up the ground. Leo from DMP advances to the finals. That means in our final matchup of the month, Leo DMP DS, a respectable 11th seed qualifier, now faces off against JJ, the March Goliath of the virtual circuit. Right at the gun, JJ takes the lead with the signature outside to inside blocking maneuver he's been using on that first hairpin. Leo is just centimeters away from a collision. The model manages to pump the brakes and keep space between them, and this defensive maneuver avoids a 5-second penalty, keeps things close. Into hairpin number 2, though, JJ loses it to the outside, and Leo's consistent driving style gives him the advantage. But it's not long before JJ is hot on his tail with that battering ram approach, using every inch of track for a way through, whether it causes off-track penalties or not. Leo manages to fend off JJ's attack through 3 laps, but a rear bumper collision from JJ throws Leo off track, and JJ uses the reset to line up an inside pass on the left-hand 90-degree in between the 2 straightaways. Leo's model just can't get out of the way in time, and the bumper tap costs him a 5-second stall. Once JJ's got that breathing room with his fast and fearless model, it's tough to make up, and Leo just can't catch him with only 2 laps to go. And there you have it, folks. JJ, the number 1 seed in the March qualifiers, hangs on to the top spot and earns his place in the 2020 DeepRacer League champions. There, he's going to have to face up against Sola, our 2019 champion, along with Richard Fan and Tony J, who will be looking to shatter his perfect record and rewrite history on this track. Now, some of you may have noticed that at the end of the month, JJ stood atop of all 3 of the leaderboards. Now, according to DeepRacer tournament rules, competitors can only qualify once for the championships. And that's why time trial and object avoidance results aren't verified until after the head-to-head racing concludes. If a racer wins more than a single division in a month, they qualify for the championships in the following order: head-to-head first, then object avoidance, and finally time trials. This means that because JJ won the head-to-head, he'll forfeit his wins in object avoidance and time trials, and the second-place finishers from those divisions get the championship qualifying spot. There's a whole lot of shakeup that can happen every month. Anything can happen. You'll continue to see our champions on the leaderboard each month, honing their skills and prepping for the championships. Now, if a racer's already qualified, then they'll have a gold ribbon next to their name on the leaderboard, and they'll be excluded from final results in those monthly races, allowing the next fastest finisher to progress up the leaderboard for a chance to advance to the finals in Las Vegas. We are just getting started here in the 2020 AWS DeepRacer League. Each month, racers can compete in all 3 divisions to attempt to climb the leaderboard and race their way to the top. The fastest developer in each format at the end of that month's racing will advance to compete in the AWS DeepRacer Championship Cup. With a total of 8 months of racing from March to October, that's 24 chances for developers to earn a spot in the big showdown. The April qualifier is already underway on the all-new Baydal track. Shift your machine learning journey into high gear and join the AWS DeepRacer League today. Join me next time. For DRTV News, I'm Blaine Sundrud, signing off.